Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Yo, man, it's Maxximus. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hello. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do, give us that, Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
I'm Maxximus. I'm originally from Denver area, Colorado, East Denver and all that.
Okay.
Moved out here probably 4 years ago. Grew up coming out here a lot and stuff like that. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you're did you have family and stuff out here?
Yeah. I grew up spending a lot of summers out here and stuff.
Okay,
like
cool.
So, yeah.
Hell yeah. And what got you into music initially?
I think biggest thing is family. My mom, she was a music teacher for a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, my uncle is in bands. He's in Portland bands and stuff like that.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, just family, I think, wise. My sisters I'm the youngest of a bunch of siblings. So
okay.
I had older brothers and sisters to put me on to a lot of music. And
oh, nice. Yeah, so you were just kind of born into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And then I guess what made you decide to go kind of the rap hip hop route instead of or do you play any instrument?
Yeah, I mean, I've played a little bit guitar growing up and piano and whatnot, but I don't do too much of that anymore.
Okay. So then rap and hip hop is really kind of your main thing.
Yeah. My mom, honestly, again, is the biggest. She grew up in Houston, so she was big, okay. I mean, grew up in the 90s too, so it was, of course, Tupac, Biggie, all those guys. But no, she grew up a big UGK and Ghetto Boys and all that type of stuff. So just through my mom, I got put onto a lot of rap. My dad was from Southern Cali, so he's a big Dre and Snoop and all those guys. So
okay, so you just had two good epicenters for that sound,
exactly,
and they were able to share it with you early.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you were kind of destined to do it at that point. That's really cool, though. And it's cool that they were willing to be encouraging to experience that.
Super encouraging, which is something that I know people who their families into music but don't really push it as much as my mom did. So my mom really put me on to she bought me my first mic. She did all that. So
hell yeah.
Yeah. She was really supportive of all that. I think wanted me to rap and wanted me to make music or whatever I was doing. So
no, I dig that. Yeah, it sounds like they were going to be supportive regardless of whatever you chose to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And then before we get into more of what you're doing with music in the present day, I do have a couple questions I'd like to check in with everybody on.
Yeah.
And this first one is one we ask early. It's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Man, so growing up in Denver, everything's spaced out and so far, so there wasn't a lot of record stores growing up. There probably is now, but there used to be this place in East Denver, Angelo CDs, which I had to, again, 40-minute drive there, drive back, so I had to really beg my parents to get there. But when I finally saved up enough money, I think I got my dad to take me there, and the first one I really, really remember is Snoop Dogg's Blue Carpet Treatment.
Okay.
I think that was a bit, my dad was into Snoop and The Chronic and all those albums, so I think that was more, my dad takes me to the record store, I'm trying to impress him, I'm like, all right, it's a Snoop Dogg CD, let's grab that. So
making it worth the trip.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the first ones I remember. Cameron's Purple Haze is up there too. That's an early one that I remember buying with my own money. So.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, you were definitely into good stuff right from the start then.
Yeah. I was, again, lucky to have older people around me to kind of put me on to whatever they were listening to or whatever they were.
It makes a difference. I remember like growing up, I would like raid my dad's CD stack, but he was not like the kind of person who like hunted for.
Yeah.
So like every now and then I'd find one obscure one. I'm like, what is this? He's like, that's not even mine. Somebody just left it here. I'm like, this is the coolest one in the stack, dude. Come on, what are we doing?
Exactly.
So, yeah, having that like atmosphere around you from an early age, I think really helps with the inspiration.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely did.
And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to? That was like specifically one you wanted to go to.
Yeah. I'd probably say like Joey Badass.
Oh, hell yeah.
I saw Joey Badass when I was pretty young.
Was that here or
No, that was in Denver, like Red Rocks actually. So that was
damn.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I was blessed to be not only have a family that was all big in music, but having Red Rocks Amphitheater and a lot of places in Denver that really put on for a lot of music. So
now I know Red Rocks only like recently became like popular to the masses. Like the whole world is now very aware of it.
Yeah.
But like how long has that actually been a venue?
Since as long as I've been alive, like, yeah, I mean, I'm 21. As long as I've been alive and before me, I'm pretty sure it's been a venue.
Okay, so it's like always been like a big deal in Colorado at least.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're in Colorado, you're in Denver, you know what it is. But yeah, I feel like just now it's more kind of catching on.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't really find out about it surprisingly until like I saw I think Bill Burr did a special at Red Rock.
He did.
And that was the first time I'd like seen the venue and I was like, whoa.
It's insane.
What is this? It's so cool.
Yeah, none of the videos do it justice at all.
No, I can't even begin. Now that I've seen a handful of things there, I'm just like, it's got such an interest because it's not like, it's not your typical amphitheater where it's like super far back and like widespread. Like everything feels like tight. Every seat kind of feels like a good seat.
Yeah, I think it's like 9,000 to 10,000 people, but you're packed in there. Everything's a good seat the way it's structured.
Hell yeah.
It's a beautiful venue.
Well, we'll have to do an episode there one day.
Yeah, we will.
All right. And before we officially get into you in the present day, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
And I would say around 8th grade, I just moved new school, didn't really know anybody. And one of the first people I clicked up with, he was doing music. His whole family, again, was also musical and doing all that. So, I mean, as a little kid, I would always just write little bullshit raps or whatever I'm doing. But like, once I got into the 8th grade and met him and he knew what I was doing and he knew I was rapping and he put me in studios for the first time and really showed me how to record and what mics you need and interfaces and all that. So around like 8th, 9th grade is when I started to be like, oh, this is something I can do and I can record and I can, really, really push it further. But honestly, my whole life, I knew I wanted.
Yeah, I mean, you've had so much support from the beginning. Exactly. I guess that line's a little blurred.
It was what I was wanting to do, but yeah, 8th grade, 9th grade is when I really started kind of take it a little bit more serious and stuff. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, let's go ahead and let's talk about what you're doing with it now. But we are going to get a super easy one out of the way first.
Yeah.
How'd you pick the name?
Birth name, man.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. My birth name's Maxximus. I originally, in high school and stuff, I used to go by Maxo, but there's a lot of other rappers that have had that name. And so I ended up just dropping that. And a lot of people around me were like, man, I mean, you're Maxximus.
It's a cool name. Yeah, like that.
So just do that. So
I'll be honest, that was not the answer I was expecting. You know what I mean? Like rarely do I get one where I'm like, that's my real name. And I'm like, that's just such a, like, is it actually spelled with 2 X's?
No, that's the only thing. That's whatever I added.
I mean, that's cool either way. And I imagine it's easy to explain. You could be like Maxximus with 2 X's. Like you don't have to be like, it's got a Q, there's a silent H. Like
dash.
There's 3 dashes and they're all at the beginning. Why? So
something simple.
Hell yeah. Well, hey, that works out well. And I imagine it's easy to respond to.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just me. It's very authentic and just, it's me. Yeah. So
I dig that. And now let's go ahead and let's dive into your writing process.
Yeah.
And we're going to chop it up into bits, but we're going to start right at the beginning. So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What are some of the things you do to get a track started?
I would say first, I'm blessed with a lot of producers around me that just send me beats. My main guy, Mashoni, just constantly, at least probably once a week or once every 2 weeks, I'll get a pack of beats. So like, that's the first step. Just hearing a beat is enough to make me be like, all right, I want to write to this, And of course, now having a phone on you at all times, like
you have no excuse not to almost.
Exactly. I can pull it out and get on the notes app, even if I'm not in the writing like mindset.
Yeah,
I have my phone on me if I think of a lyric or two that I can write. So I mean, it all It starts from different places, but I'd say the first step is just having people that send me beats, and just the second I hear a beat, I can go to write. You know what I mean?
Okay. And do you when it comes to like beat selection, because I imagine you probably have a little bit of a back catalog at this point.
Yeah.
Do you like look for certain vibes, or do you like just kind of anything you hear, you're like, let me see if I can write to this?
Yeah, I'd say it depends on the mood, but also me and Mashoni have been making music together for years now, and I feel like more than anything, he knows the vibe I'm looking for before I even do. Sometimes, like when he sends me a beat, I'm like, oh, I didn't know this is what I'm looking for, but this is what I'm looking for, type of thing. So I'm lucky with that. But
I imagine he just hears it and goes, this is a Maxximus beat.
Exactly. I think, like I said, we've worked together long enough where he knows what I want to do. And he's also not afraid to push it sometimes, but like, hey, man, like this might not be something you would typically choose, but
give it a try.
Let's try to get you on this. So,
okay, hell yeah.
Very blessed for that.
And do you, I mean, I guess, since you already have your phone out and you're doing stuff, do you like mostly write? Do you do any freestyling? Do you kind of find like a hybrid?
Yeah, I would say kind of a hybrid. I don't freestyle a lot. I feel like I like to sit down and really write.
Yeah.
I like to really sit down and write. But sometimes I kind of, when I hear a beat, I can kind of freestyle and figure out like a line or two that I like from the freestyle and write it down. And then from there, I can kind of build whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of a hybrid. I don't freestyle as much as I probably should. It's a good practice to have.
I mean, I think that while it is one of those like approaches that can be done well, it doesn't need to, you know what I mean? Like there are some people that are just so nasty with the pen that it's like, give them 10 minutes and let them write crazy bars.
Like, which is what I'd rather do. I'd rather sit down and put thought into it.
And I think the more the freestyling aspect, I think, is good for like when you don't write stuff down, like just being able to like flush the bad ideas out. So that way when you sit down, you're in the space, you can, you know that you've gotten those bits out of the way.
Exactly.
And if you accidentally stumble onto something cool, like you said, you got your phone out and you can just throw it in real quick.
Down. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. And do you have like, I guess you have your own kind of home recording setup. Do you like to write everything before you like sit down and record it? Or do you like to kind of record it in bits?
I think it depends what projects. I feel like the next thing I'm working on, I've pretty much have written almost all of it without recording any of it. I mean, sometimes, I have my own recording studio in my house a little bit. I mean, recording studio's generous. It's a mic and a laptop and an interface, but I also have a lot of homies that have studios and stuff like that. So if I'm going to the studio to work with somebody, I like to have verses prepared. I like to be able to just show up and just record it. I don't want to be sitting there, people waiting on me while I'm trying to write something. Like, I want to be prepared for it. But yeah, usually I get the writing done first before I go in to do anything like that.
Oh yeah, no, I dig that. And then once you get a track fully written, it doesn't have to be like released per se, but you've gotten the whole track figured out. How long does it usually take you to feel comfortable to the point where you could perform it?
I would say, I did this recently with one of my shows. I had 2 shows a week apart, and there was a song that I made probably 4 days before the first show, and I really wanted to perform it. And I just couldn't get it down, right? So, but the next show, I had it down perfect. So I would say a week or 2 or something like that. It depends how fresh I recorded or how much I listened to it before. I feel like when I make something, I don't always like to listen to my music a whole bunch. Not even that I think it's bad. It's just not, if I'm listening to music, I'm not trying to listen to myself. So I think that makes it a little bit harder. I have to consciously be prepared. Be preparing myself to perform it, to be able to really lock in and remember it. So
okay, yeah, that makes sense. And it's funny because I get a lot of people on here who are like, I listen to me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm like you. I can't spend all day listening to the music I made. Like I like to go back to it, you know what I mean? Like, of course. And for preparing for shows and things, I'll put it on. Exactly. But especially I grew up in bands. So for me, it was band practice anyways. So we didn't need to listen to the music. Exactly. But I think there's something to be said for taking the time to experience other things. Yeah. And kind of not so much let it influence you, but let it cleanse your palette of you. Yeah. So that you can listen to you objectively.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like in the process of making it before it's released, I'll listen to my music a lot more. But once it's released, I rarely go back.
Yeah, it's up to everybody else. From there, it is the world's music.
Exactly.
To experience how they will.
Exactly. Man.
Hell yeah. But now let's go ahead and let's talk about some of your music. I was checking it all out on Spotify. It goes back to 2022. Yeah. And you've got a pretty solid amount of stuff. I appreciate that you don't have a billion tracks. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but everything you have it's really defined.
Yeah.
That's what I think is really cool. All of your music on there has a very specific sound. You clearly have your sound. You know, it's a little boom bappy. It's very sample heavy.
Yeah,
Your flow is very like lax and consistent. And while your sound is very airy, it and like you have this vibe. You have a vibe for sure.
Yeah.
But it's very dialed. Everything feels very put together, and it's very refreshing in a way.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. And not to mention, like, you clearly have put the effort in.
Yeah.
And it shows. Like, there's never a moment in time where I'm like, oh, this could have been more that, this could have been more that way.
Yeah.
Like, everything you put out feels very intentional.
Yeah, which is great to hear.
Yeah. I mean, even listening to your most recent track, Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a solid example of you just locked in. Like, I went and listened to everything you had. Yeah. And that definitely feels like the most current and like put forward track. And it's cool because it had this, I didn't quite know how to word it right in my notes. So I'm kind of going off the cuff on this one, but there was this bounce to it. Yeah. That like, it felt like it was a mixture of the beat and you, but I couldn't quite pinpoint what was making it quite feel that way. So I think it was just you were so tight with the beat that both of you were kind of just making this experience happen. Yeah. And it gave it this really unique pace. That I really enjoyed.
And I think that's also like, again, just speaks to Mashoni. Even, I mean, he'll send me the beat and I'll write to it and I'll record it and I send it back and he mix and masters. He does all that.
Okay.
He'll add stuff to it later. He'll add the sample later. He'll add little beat cuts into it. So he really, I feel like, glues it together. Yeah. Like, he really holds it together.
Well, it's cool that the guy who makes your beats is also the person who like mixes and masters your stuff. Because usually you've got one who does one and then either you do that second half or someone else does.
Exactly. It's nice to have, he's got a vision. He knows what he's doing. So it's nice to have that.
Hell yeah. And I do this bit where I pick out a personal track that I enjoyed.
Yeah, okay.
And so I decided to go for your album that came out in 2023, Only When the Sun's Out. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest. I had to listen to it like 3 or 4 times before I could like pick one. Yeah. Because it's just, it's a really put together album.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I ended up going with Sun Ra.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, and I'm going to say this, I rarely pick tracks that have like a handful of features for this particular one. Because I like to like focus in on the
artist.
Yeah, I like to focus in on the person for their thing.
100%.
But that track had such a cool, like, familiar feeling in the way everybody was featured and the way it was put together. I really liked the vocal sample that was in the beat.
Yeah,
but just the presentation of the track felt really good. Yeah. And for being like the last official track on the album before the outro, I just thought it was a really powerful ending. Yeah. And for, anybody who hasn't listened to it, go listen to the whole album. And when you get to that point, you're going to be like, oh. Yeah. But I thought it was a really refreshing ending to the album and just a solid track in general. It could have gone anywhere, but it was really good.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, I'm not huge on features, or at least albums with a lot of features. Yeah. I feel like some rappers really struggle with that, where they're putting almost every song is featuring somebody. It's hardly their album, you know what I mean? So I'm not huge on features, so I feel like I can be pretty picky with who I want to rap with and whatnot. But Morning Run and Matt Dragos are both from the East Coast, and I think I got linked up with them through like Twitter. And the dude who produced that entire album, Clown Cat, he was like 16 at the time.
Oh, damn.
16, 17 at the time when he was making those beats, and he had made some stuff with Morning Run and Matt Dragos, and just hearing their stuff, I was like, all right, I need them on mine.
Yeah, for sure.
They're both, I mean, I think we all kind of give a little something different to the table.
Very much so.
Still has the same vision or the same path or whatever, you know what I mean? So I'm super blessed for those guys to be on that track, like super blessed.
Hell yeah. No, like I said, it's a super cool track. And again, a really cool album in general.
Yeah.
But I am curious to know now, what are some of your favorite tracks to perform?
Ooh, I would say most of the stuff I'm performing is on my next album that comes out next month. My Left Hand has been my favorite one to perform. That's the outro to my next album. That one's been great. Burt Reynolds is always fun to perform. Like that one, I mean... I don't have a lot of hooks or anything like that. Like it's a lot of just straight verses. So, and I like that performing that way. I think it kind of showcases that like I can rap. You know what I mean? Like I can really rap and I can really really just keep going and keep spitting and stuff like that. I don't even count bars sometimes. I'll just keep it going. So I like stuff like that. I like to showcase that I can just sit there live and just rap. So Burt Reynolds is a big one for that.
Oh, yeah. And actually, that kind of segues well into the next question, which is tell us about some of the new music you're working on. Like, what can we look forward to, like, stylistically and sound-wise? Like, what do you got cooking?
My next project comes out, like I said, next month. Entirely produced by Mashoni, mixed and mastered by him, everything. It still holds true to my sound that I feel like I've always kind of had, or that I've had, like you said, like dialed in. But it's definitely feels a lot more complete to me. It feels like my first project was, I mean, I was probably 17, 18 when I was working on most of it. You know, Clown Cat was 16, 17. So it was just kids trying to figure something out.
Yeah, a lot of like young, not inexperienced, but newer energy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just trying to kind of fumbling around, trying to figure out what it was. But this project really feels like there was a mission, there was a plan, there was a goal, there was something. There was a focus, the focused minds, like two focused minds, both knowing what we wanted to do on it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a lot more cohesive. It's a lot more arranged. You know, like it takes you from one place to another. I feel like, which is very big on it.
And is it going to be like a concept album at all? Is there going to be like kind of like any like skit or storyline or like premise in it?
I wouldn't say concept album or skit or storyline. I mean, I feel like most of it, what I'm rapping about is from when I was like 16, 17, stuff that at the time I couldn't be able to process or put into words. And I feel like it's now that I'm 21 and I'm a few years removed from that stuff, I can kind of process it and put it into words. So wouldn't necessarily say like concept, but it's definitely got some themes that that kind of reoccur throughout the album. So
hell yeah. Well, definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And I guess I should ask this earlier. Is Mashoni here or are they elsewhere?
Mashoni actually, he's from Portland, but he actually lives in Vancouver.
Okay.
Right now. Yeah.
Oh, so he's from here.
Yeah, nice. Exactly. So, yeah, I think I originally just met him through Twitter or something, but now we link up and yeah, he DJ shows and does all.
Okay, hell yeah.
So a lot in person.
So you can actually like, you can interact with them in person.
Yeah, exactly.
That I think goes a long way for sure.
Huge, yeah.
Now I want to take a moment and just kind of zoom out. Let's talk about music as a whole.
Yeah.
What are some of the things about either like new music in general, or at the very least new music to you that you enjoy and you're finding inspiration from?
Man, I feel like recently it's been, rap-wise, it's been a lot of the local guys. Like, I listen to a lot of I really enjoy people that, even if you don't have the same lives or whatever, similar backgrounds and similar themes that you guys can pull from being in the same area and stuff like that. I really enjoy that. If I'm listening to not local guys, I pretty much almost never listen to rap that much. I mean, I keep up on a few rappers or whatever, but I try to find just stuff I wouldn't typically listen to or wouldn't think I would typically listen to. I mean, I listen to a lot of the stuff that is sampled throughout our music and stuff like that, a lot of soul and jazz, but just looking for anything that sonically it's deeper than just some lyrics or some whatever. You know, I feel like I focus myself rapping on the lyrics. I want to listen to stuff for more of the music, more of that stuff. So I look for a lot of that, listen to a lot of Mexican music, listen to a lot of old soul and jazz and R&B stuff like that. So
yeah. No, I dig that. And I guess within that, are you finding that there's like, how, I guess, does that influence rap and hip hop?
I feel like lately and recently I've been able to be kind of more melodic, or not just, you know, I've been writing hooks a little bit more and doing stuff like that. And I think that comes from listening to stuff that is just not just rap, not, you know what I mean? I can pull certain harmonies or melodies or whatever into what I'm doing and try to work that in. So I think that's big.
I dig that. You know, I know you don't listen to a lot of it, but are you familiar with an artist named Abi the Nomad?
I don't think I am. Yeah.
You should check out his music because he has this interesting realm where he will do like rap and hip hop stuff, and he'll also do some like indie stuff, and then he'll do stuff that kind of really blurs the line. So like he exists in a handful of different sounds. And like goes all the way into just like music, like stuff that's like not even
close to rapper hip hop.
Yeah. That's great.
And I think he kind of has a lot of that in it. So he listened to a lot of those, and I think even like tries to do those kinds of sounds. To find new ways, because after he does like a not rapper hip hop album, whenever he comes back to it, there's always this like this melodic element that you can tell came from it.
Exactly.
So that I think would be an interesting concept for you to check out.
100%.
And I mean, even if you do just the not rap hip hop stuff, although you should check out. Do you know Kato on the Track by chance? Are you familiar with that producer?
No, I don't think so.
Him and Kato put out 2 like short albums.
Okay.
Like I guess you would call them EPs, but they're really not. But they're each like 6 tracks. It's like Obby vs. Kato 1 and 2.
Okay.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Definitely worth checking. I'm leaving them here so you can check them out later.
No, 100%.
We're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about you.
No.
And this next question is probably the densest question in the interview.
Okay.
But, we've talked a lot about, your actions, your reactions, your experience with music.
Yeah.
But when it's just you and the music, one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
This might sound corny or cliche, but to me, a lot of it is therapy in a way. It's stuff that I can't typically get out to the people around me or whatever. It's an outlet. It's something that takes it off my chest or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I think also it's just I love music. I'm a fan first. I always say that. I'm a fan first before anything. So it's like, it's also, even if I don't listen to my music a lot, it's nice to like hear a track where I'm like, damn, like if this wasn't me and I heard this, I could listen to this or something, So I think it's a healthy balance of, like I said, therapy and being able to have an outlet, but also just being a fan first and hearing something that I would want to hear. Yeah, if that makes sense. So
it feel like it gives you an opportunity to feel like you're contributing to something you love.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. 100%.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll be honest. The therapy answer is a recurring one, but I don't think it's a cliche or corny answer. Just because it's the need to express oneself, I think, is so important. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and not everybody is born with the opportunity to just do that.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I always forget who says what, because I've done so many of these. There was this one girl who she said that until she figured out that she could do music, she was like the shyest person in the world. And then once she got on stage, she realized that she could express how she wanted to be to other people, and other people got to know her through her performances, and like that was how she like made her friends and like got to connect.
Exactly. I think that's big to me too. Outside of the music, I feel like I can be pretty quiet, like not even necessarily shy, just pretty quiet. Yeah. So it gives me an outlet to when I'm on stage, I don't want to be quiet, or whatever. If I'm in the studio, I don't want to be quiet. I want to go rap. I want to express. So I think that's big for me. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
But now let's go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Yeah.
For these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well.
Yeah.
But this first one's pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive.
Okay.
Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Probably got to say Dash. Dash has been like my favorite rapper since I was like 12, 13. Since before I should have even been listening to Dash. but that's one I want to work with at some point, and I think I would love to have it happen naturally. I'm not big into, obviously I know people got to get paid and money, but I like when it can come naturally. You can meet this person or be in the studio, just share space with this person and want to work together. So that's probably a big one. Just working with somebody who I've loved since I was young and being able to have it naturally.
No, that would actually, that's not a name I've heard many people mention. So that's like kind of a cool one to say, and I can definitely see that.
100%, yeah.
And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
Man, I feel pretty lucky in terms of working with a lot of the local people I want to work with. I got Milk on my next project.
Oh, hell yeah.
My answer probably like 2 weeks ago would have been Slick Devious. I just recorded a joint with him in the studio like last week. So I feel like locally I'm working with a lot of the people. I would say Damie, but also that's something where it's like I know that's just gonna come at some point.
Yeah. Shout out Damie.
Got busy schedules and shit. It's rough when you got 9 to 5s, balancing that with music, with everything else. So
don't I know?
Yeah, exactly. so Damie is probably one I'd say, but again, like that's something I know is coming any day now or anytime. So, but
he definitely. I think he shows up on everybody's track when he's like meant to. You know what I mean? He's just like, exactly. It's time for me to go. Yeah, like
exactly. So
everybody. add him in the comments anyways. Let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, shouts to Damien, man.
And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limit, and it's pretty literal in this sense.
Yeah.
But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power, it was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show, and it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
Where would you want to perform?
Honestly, like we talked about it before, Red Rocks has always been that spot for me.
I had a feeling that was going to be it. I had to get the whole speech out, but...
Yeah, exactly. Red Rocks would always be that spot for me no matter what.
For sure.
Growing up, going to a lot of great shows there and seeing like legendary artists that have performed there, that's a big one. That's a must. Yeah.
It's, in my opinion, it's slowly becoming the next, like... You kind of have to, you know what I mean? Like Madison Square Garden has been there forever.
Yep, exactly.
Like the Sphere is going to become important one day, I'm sure. But like Red Rocks is definitely, like I said, I literally want to do an episode of the show there just so one time I can say I did it.
Exactly.
But it's just, it's such an iconic spot.
Yeah. It really
and for you being a local, you know what I mean? Like it definitely, I'm sure it attaches even more so.
It holds a lot of weight. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday.
Yeah.
Who would you want an album from?
Oh, that's a really good one. Honestly, I'd probably say Gil Scott-Heron. He's like godfather of rap, like before rap was even really a thing. That's who a lot of these people pulled from and stuff like that. And I think to hear him in today's landscape of what music is and stuff like that, I think would be very powerful. I think with a lot of the he did a lot of jazz stuff, but even with a lot of the sampling, I think it could be really beautiful. And then another quick simple one is Sean Price.
Oh hell yeah!
Price again, I think too is like with the producers that are out now and the people in that, even where he's from, like in the DMV and stuff like that, there's just so much potential for him to be on some insane beats with some really dope artists out there. So I think that'd be a big one too. Damn,
2 super solid answers.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Hell yeah. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Yeah.
What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and the February?
A lot. The goal is I got a project next month, and then it's great that you mentioned February because that's the loose plan for mine and Mashoni's next project.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so we'll get 2 from y'all in that window of time.
Yeah, and then me and my guy Dobleon and Cabana and Mashoni are all working on a little group thing too. So a bunch, hopefully. You know, I got a lot of shows lined up too, finally. So just a lot of music. I'm ready to. I feel like I've been holding off for so long. I'm ready to just start dumping it out and just start having a catalog, building a catalog. So hopefully a lot between now and February.
Hell yeah. Well, definitely looking forward to all of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, now definitely looking forward to February at this point.
Yeah.
For this next one, go ahead and look straight at the camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
Instagram is Maxximus 2X's 47_. Twitter, which I'm not on as much as I should be, OBTS_Maxximus. I think that's really all I use. I mean, I got Apple Music, Spotify. If you find my Instagram, there's a link to everything. So, you know, you can find me as long as you find my Instagram. So,
hell yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Man, go check out my brother Dobleon. He just dropped a project. He just dropped 2 projects, I think, in the last month or so. Super talented rapper from Woodburn. Yeah, any of those guys, Corey B, Eric Boderick, they're all in the same circle. If you find one of them, you'll get linked to the others. So yeah, check out Dobleon and Cabana. Those are some really dope rappers from here, man.
Hell yeah. All right, with that being said, we've got one last question to go.
Yeah.
Before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
100%.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Raw Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation.
Yeah.
But what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? So it's a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know.
Yeah.
But it's one you think everybody should know.
Man, something that if you're deep into rap, you might know this one, but Wretch's Polo Sporting Goods is a big one to me, where in 2013 it was one rapper with one producer ahead of his time. You know, It's a lot of jazz soul samples. I think it really paved the way for a lot of things that a lot of people now want to be doing. Like I said, if you're really into the culture and you're really into rapping, you might know of it, but it's not one I hear a lot of people talk about. That definitely I feel like is a big foundational piece to a lot of the rap out now. So
hell yeah. Hey, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't heard it, so I'm super excited now. I love when somebody wrecks one. I'm like, oh, new music for me. So definitely looking forward to that. And thank you. Oh yeah, and with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. Truly, very appreciative of it.
And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Maxximus.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.